Welcome back to my writer's room, everyone, and welcome to day one of Hamshackle's Hangry Holidays Advent Vlog. It's happening. So here's the deal. All through December, here on the vlog, every single day, I am devoting the vlog to you, to Team Hamshackle, to the folks who've been subscribing and watching the vlog. And what I asked you to do was tell me what you want me to talk about here on the vlog all through December. And each day I would pick one and I would dedicate the episode to the person who wanted me to talk about that. And then I would do my best to satisfy their need to, for some reason, hear me ramble about things. So I've got you, and you guys are great. You guys and people who are not guys, you folks were great. I got a bunch of requests here. I sorted through them, and for the first Hamshackle's Hangry holiday vlog, I have picked a request by Shannon Dybvig, and this will be dedicated to you, Shannon. So Shannon told me, I'd love to see you vlog about romantic relationships, whether it's how you met Nikki and when you realized you wanted to marry her, dating/relationships as a writer, or something positive on the subject that you don't think is adequately discussed. That's her tweet that I even printed out because I don't edit, but I do have a printer and paper, analog mother trucker. So yeah. So yes, this episode is dedicated to you, Shannon. Shannon, you might remember, she created that amazing art of Hamshackle Pig, NaNoWriMo Hamshackle Pig at his computer, trying to get it done for NaNoWriMo. That was so amazing. Shannon is a very talented storyteller and artist. Obviously, go follow Shannon on Twitter. Go consume everything Shannon's done, and this is dedicated to you, Shannon. Happy holidays. So yeah, I actually can talk about all of those things that you mentioned in your tweet, Shannon, in a way that actually they all kind of relate together. And I'm actually glad you brought this up because I've actually been thinking about this lately. I see a lot of people that I follow on Twitter, and they retweet and they talk. There are a lot of people talking about like ace and arrow representation in fiction and how romantic relationships are portrayed in fiction and media. And it did actually get me thinking before you brought this up, and it was an excellent topic to bring up, how traditionally we really only get one narrative of a romantic relationship in media, and it's traditionally guy and girl meet. That's the traditional hardwired standard of media. Guy and girl meet, they don't like each other at first, or they do like each other but are reluctant for some reason. A bunch of stuff happens, and then 90 minutes or 250 pages later, they have sex, and then they're in a relationship, and that's like the ultimate arc of romantic love that is expressed in popular media. And even with more prevailing LGBTQ relationships being portrayed in media, I feel like they're still portrayed with the same arc, even if it's like a man and a woman and a woman. You still get that same traditional arc of two people meet and a bunch of stuff happens, and then they consummate by boning each other, and that is what a romantic relationship is. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized how actually twisted and one-dimensional and false that is. And this ties into my relationship with my wife, Nikki, and with both the story of how we met and when I realized that I wanted to marry her. And it's what made me realize that a romantic relationship is not, the key component of that is not sexual. It's really not. Now, look, I like sex. If sex was on Facebook, I would like it. I'd click the button. No one's bigger. Enjoy it very much. And if you are people who are into sex, then I think that is a very important component of a romantic relationship. Because it's like, at that point, it's like being hungry and then not eating. You're not getting what you need, what you desire, and that always leads to problems. So sex for sexual people is a very key component of romantic relationships. But even then, and even admitting that I'm one of those people, I've come to realize that the romantic relationship is not about sex, especially a really deeply intimate one, and especially one that inevitably leads to, whether you're into legal marriage or not, what leads to that commitment to spend the rest of your life with somebody. And what I realized is what I define as a romantic relationship is when you absorb someone into your space. And what I mean by that is I'm a very anti-social person by nature. I'm not big on people. I like my isolation. I like my solitude. I like my alone time. And when I realized that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Nikki, by then we'd already established a really good like sex track record. Nikki shags like a demon that just got out of prison, so I had no complaints there. But again, that wasn't the component of our relationship that made me go rest of my life, because you don't have to be in love with someone or have a romantic relationship with someone to enjoy having sex with them. Sex is independent of that. It can again be a very important and healthy and awesome component of that, but it's on its face it's separate from that. What made me realize I wanted to be with Nikki for the rest of my life is that I had, without even realizing it, I had come to define being alone as being with her. When I said I want to get away from everybody and I want to go be by myself for a while and I want to decompress, what I started to mean was I want to go be alone with Nikki in our space, away from everyone, and decompress. And that was a drastic change in my life that I didn't even realize had occurred. And when I did realize it, that's when I knew this is the person for me. This is the person that I could spend the rest of my life with. And here's how I'll kind of illustrate that arc. How we met is a really funny story. I've told it countless times, and so is she, but I've never told it on this vlog before, so this will be a new one. I had just moved to the Valley from Tennessee. I had just come out from Tennessee to Southern California, and I was living with my best friend, director, and maker of the How to ADHD channel on YouTube with his wife, Jessica, Earl Newton. We were living together in this crappy little apartment in the Valley, and we had our first party. It was a birthday party for Earl in this crappy little apartment, and it was going to be like our first LA party. So we invited a bunch of people, and I did like a whole taco bar. I made the tortillas from scratch, and I put up a bunch of silver balloons, and I'm like, first LA party, we're gonna while it out here. It's gonna be lit. So like an hour into the party, only a few people had shown up, and I was starting to feel kind of like things were going to be a disaster. Like our first cool LA party was going to be a complete failure. And just as I was really starting to feel that, Earl was dating a young woman at the time whose best friend was Nikki, and the woman Earl was dating showed up with another friend and with Nikki, and they walked in, and just, they're gorgeous and they're dressed to the nines. And you've seen pictures of Nikki with the makeup and the hair. You've seen her on this channel. She always puts amazing looks together, and they're all double fisting booze, and they walk in. I'm just like, all right, thank God the party is saved. It's gonna be cool. And it was. And then a bunch of more people showed up, and it was a wild night. It was great. But that was the first time I met Nikki. And, we got to talking a little bit. They introduced us finally, because we'd never met before. And I instantly was attracted to her. I liked her. I liked her personality, what I had been presented of it. I've only known her for a few minutes at this point. But I knew that I was attracted to her, and I knew that I enjoyed being in her company. So I decided, well, I'm definitely having sex with her tonight. And that's how it started, and that's the truth. It wasn't a deeply romantic thing. It wasn't a callous thing of like, I'm gonna, have sex with her and never call her again. I was very attracted to her. That was the first thing I knew. The second thing I was starting to realize as we talked is I enjoy her personality and her company. And both of those things led me to the conclusion of, we're having our first LA party. I've just moved out here. She seems like she's into it. We're gonna have sex. And I wasn't thinking about marriage and kids and a future and dating. I was just thinking about the physical part of it. And she was into it too, until we decided to do Tequila Shots together. And that's when I found out that Nikki, two things are true about Nikki and alcohol. The first is Nikki can drink faster than any mammal that stalks the earth. She can take down 400-pound Samoan dudes in a drinking contest. The other thing about Nikki and alcohol is she is the biggest lightweight you've ever met in your life. Like, seriously, a few drinks and she's gone. And that is a horrible, lethal combination that she hadn't learned how to regulate yet. And I didn't know this. I was only seeing the first part, which is she can drink really fast, she can keep up. So we do like 8 shots of tequila, which is nothing for me because I weigh 400 pounds and I'm like 6'4". And she's keeping up, and I think, well, this must be a thing that she does. So we do that. We get on the couch, I'm working my game, and I'm getting up to make my move. And just as I'm preparing to kind of move in for the kill there, she springs up, bolts to the bathroom, and throws up all over our bathroom. And what was worse was, Nikki is so graceful in so many ways, but she's also a huge klutz. And it's one of her more endearing qualities. As she is running into the bathroom, she stumbles, she grabs the toilet seat and rips the entire toilet seat, lid and seat off the toilet, and then pukes everywhere. It was like, it was too extreme to be in a sitcom, but something that should happen in a sitcom. So she got sick everywhere. Her and a friend of hers ended up sleeping in my bed tonight because, of course, she was terribly ill. I slept on the couch, and that was my first big, fancy, cool party in LA stories. I slept on a couch, and 2 women slept in my bed. And at about 3 a.m, she woke up covered in vomit and snuck out in the middle of the night. And I woke up and I was on the couch. And I saw her going. I told her, stay. We'll have breakfast. It's fine. I didn't care about the toilet and the puke. I actually thought it was really funny. And I felt bad that had happened and that I allowed that to happen. But again, I didn't know what her capacity for alcohol was. And she said no, because she was covered in puke and embarrassed, and she left and Facebooked me the next day and was like, I'll pay for the toilet, I'll pay for the dry cleaning, whatever it is, just send me a bill. And I told her I didn't want her to pay for anything. I just wanted to take her out on a date. And that was how our relationship started. It started with me wanting to have sex with her and then watching her projectile vomit all over her bathroom. And again, it wasn't the wanting to have sex with her part that motivated me to want to keep seeing her. It was the part where she got sick and collapsed and tore the lid off my toilet and projectile vomited everywhere and just snuck out in the middle of the night so sweetly ashamed. It was that part. The moment when I realized I wanted to marry Nikki was several years later. I had just had a birthday. And I was still living in that crappy apartment in the valley. She was living in Orange County. We'd have to commute 50 miles to see each other, which was a whole other thing. But anyway, she came up. It wasn't on my birthday. It was a little after my birthday. But she came up and she had gone to the Cheese Cave in Claremont, which is this awesome hipster artisan cheese place. She got all these fancy cheeses. And if you know me, you know I'm all about fancy cheese. And she brought me the new Leonard Cohen album because I'm a huge Leonard Cohen fan. Nikki actually took me to see my first live Leonard Cohen concert, which is one of the best experiences of my life. So she comes over, she's got all these fancy cheeses, she puts on Leonard Cohen, we're sitting on my futon, because again, I was a broke writer in LA, and they issue you a futon when you come out here from the South, or the Midwest. We're sitting on my futon, eating these fancy cheeses, and listening to Leonard Cohen, and I looked at her, and I realized, I literally had the thought, I'm going to marry this woman, because that had become my space. That had become the space I loved and wanted to occupy. And she had become part of it. And that's a very rare, for me anyway, that's a very rare, extremely rare thing to find that in this life. Because again, I don't take to people easily. And even people that I love, I still need my time away from them to kind of decompress and just to deal with life. But with Nikki, she had been absorbed into my space and become part of it. And for me, being alone was being with her. And that is how I define romantic love. So yeah, that's the big long rambling explanation to that. And that is what I think is not talked about adequately enough. That standard narrative of boy meets girl, a bunch of stuff happens, they fuck, and then they're in love. I think that is represented far too often in media. And we don't see the non-sexual side of intimacy, and we really should see more of that, because that's the glue, man. That's what holds everything together. It's not the sex. The sex is great if you're into the sex, and that's something that you also need to stick with. Again, it's something that is important, but it's not what holds you together. It's not what turns my space into our space. It's that non-physical form of intimacy, that emotional, almost fucking spiritual form of intimacy, not to get too weird on you. But yeah, so that's the answer to that. Shannon, I hope that satisfied you. I'm sorry if I went on a little bit there. When I get to talking about my wife and our stories, I tend to ramble because I love her and I love us, and that's why I love us. And I hope I was able to explain that adequately. So yeah, today's episode dedicated to Shannon Dybvig. That's what Shannon wanted to hear about, and that's what I have to say about that. And I hope everybody else was able to take something from it. I will be back on Monday for the next day of the Advent vlog here. I've got a lot of great stuff from people. Please feel free, go into the comments, let me know what you want me to talk about. That's what this Advent vlog is all about this month. I want to hear what's important to you, and that's what I want to talk about. So let me know what's important to you and what you want to hear about, and that's what I'll do. And I will dedicate the episode to you if I select your your topic and your request. So yeah, please like, share, subscribe. We're doing a bunch of cool stuff for December, as I talked about yesterday on the vlog. We're also doing Hamshackle's Hangry Holidays giveaway. I'm giving away a bunch of swag and books and a bunch of cool stuff. I've posted a video about that today. I will link to that video in the description. Share that video with everyone. Let's drive subscriber numbers through the roof, and let's give out some gifts, and let's do the holiday thing. I'm having a good time. I'm Matt Wallace. This has been Hamshackle's Hangry Holidays Advent Vlog Day 1. Dedicated to Shannon Dybvig, and I will see you all on Monday.